And these are women in the prison where I work, folks. Isn't that amazing? Okay? No morals, no values. All right? And people talk about God like nothing. All right? They quote God when they're doing their worst. And nobody's going to hell anymore. You ever go to some of these funerals now, Jonathan? These drug dealers, gang, he's in a better place. No, he's not. If my Bible is right, he's not in a better place, all right? He's resting now. No, he's not. Okay? All right, he's in pain, according to Luke 16. Okay, he's in torment. He wants to drink of water, and he can't get none. Amen? But they're not preaching that. Everybody's going to heaven. But David, folks, David, again, he was a man who what? Knew his God. And therefore he stood firm and took action. What does that say about the rest of the Israelite army? What does that say about its king? And why God had already ripped the kingdom from Saul? Because he was faithless and did not any longer know his God. Understand, folks, Brother Leroy, there are a lot of people that you want to do better in the church. And Leroy, I'm afraid to tell you, you're wasting your time. There was no business meeting. There was no new workshop or no new great speaker they could have brought around to get those Israelites to fight against Goliath. Okay? They did not know their God. And those who know their God will stand firm and take action. Daniel 2:20, they'll have great thoughts about God. Daniel chapter 3, verse 16, 17, they'll have great boldness like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had great boldness for their God. And you don't have to have business meetings with those people. All right? You have to beg them to do what God has called them to do because they know their God. Folks, Revelation 21, verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving, okay? But the fearful and the unbelieving, the cowards who know not their God, will have their place in the lake that burns with fire and brimstone. David slew Goliath, and this is what David knew. Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 14. Let's look at these scriptures, and the lesson will be yours. Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 14. Proverbs 20, verse 7. Deuteronomy 20, verse 14. What does it say? But the women,
and the little one, and the cattle, and all that is in the city.
Is that 20, verse 14?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And all that is in the city, even all the spoil thereof, shalt thou take unto thyself, and thou shalt eat the spoil of thine enemies.
That's 20, verse 14.
Yes.
I wrote it down wrong. Yeah, that's Deuteronomy?
Yes.
Okay. Psalms 20, verse 7. Some trust in chariots, some trust in horses.
But we will remember the name of the Lord our God.
But we remember the name of the Lord our God. Isn't that powerful? Don't you trust in horses or chariots. Because a horse or chariot is only as good as the man who is controlling it. Amen? And if the man has fear, he is frozen. He's got paralysis. And he can't do you any good. Proverbs 21, verse 31.
The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of the Lord.
But safety is of the Lord. Look at it, folks. Isaiah 31, verse 13. verse 13. Brother Ranger, you got it?
Isaiah 31 goes through verse 9.
Y'all lying. I'm right. Harvey know we had some elders like that we used to worship with. We had some elders like that. It's 33, verse 13. It's in the Bible. I know it. Shut up.
Hear ye that are far off,
Okay.
what I have done, and ye that are near acknowledge my might.
I'm sorry, 31, verse 3. I'm sorry, not 13.
Now
Verse
the
3.
Egyptians are men, and not God.
And not God.
And their horse is flesh.
Their
and not
horse is
spirit.
flesh
When
and
the
what?
Lord shall
And
stretch
not
out his
spirit.
hand,
Don't you depend on nations. Don't you depend on anybody. And don't you be let down when people let you down. Okay? All right? 10 brothers are supposed to knock doors with me today, and only one showed up. Let's go. Okay? Nobody showed up. I'm still going. Okay? Because God is going to add the increase. Amen? And God is showing us through David, he don't work through numbers. He works through what? People who know him. Amen? I like Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5. It says what? Cursed is the man that trusts in the man whose arm is flesh. That's been our problem. We put too much trust in the men of the church, all right? And we allow them, when they let us down, to kill our spirit. We know our God. And we know what God has called us to do. And what I like about David the boy, he proved to be a mighty boy who grew into a mighty man who knew his God and who would take action every time there was a need. And that's the point, folks. That's the point. That's the point. And that is the point. When I see the application, how many Goliaths do we have in our lives? Those are giants, figurative giants. How about the giant of jealousy? The giant of low self-worth, low self-esteem. The giant of, they don't ever include me. I feel left out. The giant of, I'm afraid. All we've got to do, folks, is turn to God and believe his word. Believe his word. Cursed is the man that trusts in the man whose arm is flesh. That's what Jeremiah said. All right? Men, come on, let's go. We go back to the mighty men of David, 2 Samuel chapter 23, and we notice that what? Here's a man who fights 800 men by himself. Where were the rest of the Israelite army? Here was a man who fights, and he's in the middle, and his arm or his hand freezes to the sword. He fights the enemy so long. All right? Where were the rest of the Israelites? What did he think of being left there alone? And it says in each case, and God gave him the victory. We've got to start believing that God will give us the victory, folks. God will give us the victory. David knew that the God of heaven rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomsoever he wills. Daniel 4:32. David knew that God raises up kings and brings down kings. Daniel 2, verse 21. David knew that the powers that be are ordained of God, okay? Romans chapter 13, verse 1 and 2. Amen? David knew some things about his God. We need to know some things about our God. We need to know that God rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomsoever he wills, and he's going to take them down when he's ready.